Hi everyone, this is Lita.
And I'm Clara. We're from the VCSA.
We're going to show you guys some highlights from International Women's Week here at Vanier.
You know, violence against women is something that for too long has been described as, quote, a woman's issue. Now, it definitely is a woman's issue. But when we talk about violence against women, we're leaving out a key word. And that word is men's. Because after all, most violence against women, not all, but most, is committed by men. So it's critical that we redefine violence against women as an issue for men.
This image of invisible masculinity was only what I as a little kid could dream of being, but it was unattainable. Well, if I couldn't attain this, what is a teenage boy or younger boy supposed to do now when he's got to live up to that?
So the strange thing is that the very culture, society, relationships that have given men more power actually come with a cost to men ourselves. So the reason why it's critical for men to embrace these struggles for gender equality and gender justice is, yes, it's absolutely important for women and women's lives, but it's also important for men's lives as well.
But I noticed it sometimes. I was in Toronto at the ACC last year for a Canadiens-Leafs game, and I was the only woman sitting there. And I noticed it. Maybe I shouldn't, but I noticed it.
There's a lot of hard work and second guessing in there through the years, and I think a lot of that second guessing is because I'm a woman. In sports, like in business, women don't ask for as many raises. We don't sell ourselves, we don't have as much confidence in our abilities, and we have a very hard time saying no.
Have you ever felt that there's sort of a gap or of a difference between you and a male sports broadcaster doing the same thing as you?
I've never felt a difference with the outside, and what I mean by that is no one's ever made me feel that way. I haven't had a male broadcaster say, oh, you know, I'm going to do this because you're a woman, you can't do it. Mostly it's, I find, on the inside where I feel like maybe I don't know enough about this, and it's going to be really exposed because I'm a woman. It'll be, there's a bit more attention on me because I'm the only woman in the room, and if I make a mistake, it's going to be a bigger deal. And then you realize, you know what, everyone in this room has been where I've been. Everyone has been terrified. Everyone has been scared to ask a question. They felt nervous. And it's just something you're going to deal with. And like I said, once you do it once, you feel fine. And so it's a little bit more in your head than on the outside. Most of the guys in sports are super accommodating. They're happy to have women around, actually, because it's such a boys' club. And so it's something new and different, and we can joke with each other. It's actually a really welcoming environment, and you shouldn't be afraid of being a woman in sports broadcasting.
I was really honored to be a part of this. I've only been in this career for 5 years now, and so I feel like I'm new at this. So to feel that, my advice and things that I can say can benefit, people who I was just in your position just a couple years ago. It's a real honor, and it was also a real honor to be sitting up there with my colleague.
What each individual can do, what we have as our own personal power to stop harassment. So confronting the harasser, reminding ourselves that it's not our fault, documenting where it's possible to document, reporting occurrences of harassment where it's appropriate, and I say appropriate because there's different measures to take depending on the type of harassment that a person is experiencing. So identifying harassment, what constitutes harassment, is an important takeaway, because many people think that it is a very large macroaggression against an individual, when in fact it isn't. It's a broad spectrum of behaviors, from comments and jokes to sexual touching that could escalate all the way to rape. So definitely different responses to each experience on that spectrum.
Women's rights, of course, are human rights in the same way that gay, lesbian, queer, transgender, two-spirit youth rights are human rights. That in embracing equal rights and equality of women, we also embrace the equality of all humanity, however identified and self-identified. And I think that's an essential element.
So improvements in one area, I believe, inevitably improve other areas. And the goals of a healthy, inclusive, sustainable, resilient community of humanity, that's a community of species that ultimately is a planetary home that's secure, meets the needs of all of those things. They're not in opposition. In other words, people talk about vicious cycles and virtuous circles. There's a certain virtuous circle that when you improve social justice, you're improving the status of women, you're likely also embracing policies that aren't disastrous for the environment.
And we just want to thank the Women's Study Department for all of their hard work and their contribution for International Women's Week, and especially
Evangeline Caldwell.
she did an amazing work with everyone else that contributed, so thank you so much for making this week awesome.
And we would also like to thank all the other contributors and all others that were involved in making this project. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you next year again.